Hello and welcome to the Derek Deputy Video Game Show. I'm Derek Deputy, and I'll be the host of the show. I skipped last week because there just wasn't a whole lot interesting to talk about, to be honest. There was a lot of Nintendo Direct rumors, and one was announced, and that's all there was really to talk about. And that's fine, but the time this podcast usually goes up is just hours before the direct, so it just didn't seem worth even having an episode. But I'm back today. We're going to talk about all the latest video game news. This includes that Nintendo Direct, some Xbox price increases, and I finally finished the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Well, finished as far as I'm willing to go. We'll get into that. But first, if you're listening on YouTube, please click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, click the like button, all of that. It does really help. If you are listening on another podcasting platform, make sure you're following or subscribing or whatever the button looks like on your chosen platform. Subscribe to the RSS feed. I try to post an episode of this podcast once a week around the same time-ish, each week. Once in a while, I'll miss, but most weeks I get it in there, and I like to talk about the video game news. So, that's what we're going to do. Let's get right into it. So this year, a new Spider-Man game is coming out at the end of the year. I'm sure most people know about Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 was one of my favorite games of all time, really. It might be the favorite game of all time, up there tied with Mario Odyssey. I really enjoyed that game, so I've been paying attention to all the rumors, leaks, online discourse regarding Spider-Man 2. And one of the big topics of conversation is whether it will be a game where you can play as Venom. Obviously, we know you're going to have Black Suit Spider-Man, you're going to have Miles Morales as well. But we don't know if Venom will be playable or not. There's been a few games where Venom showed up and he wasn't playable. But there's also been a few where he was. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the previous games where Venom was indeed playable. The first one I want to talk about is Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects. It was a fighting game for the PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, Nintendo DS, and PSP. It was made by EA. And the way I understand it, it plays a little bit like Power Stone or Super Smash Brothers. It simplified combat, fatality-like finishing moves, and it had a story mode that was apparently moderately decently written. I have not played this, though, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. The Metacritic scores for it aren't great, but Venom was playable. Another game where Venom was playable was Marvel Avengers Battle for Earth, which is a Ubisoft game. And actually, this one looks kind of interesting. I haven't played this one either. It was for the 360 and the Wii U. It's heavily based on the Secret Invasion storyline. And Venom was apparently playable. From what I understand, it was just like a beat-em-up. Yeah. It looks good. I have not tried it. but it actually looks like interesting, so maybe I should go looking for this. Now we're going to finally get to some games that I have played. With Marvel vs. Capcom. I have briefly played all of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, or most of them. I don't think I've played all of them. There's actually quite a few of them outside of just 1, 2, and 3, so yeah, I don't think I've played all of them. I did play Infinite. Venom plays okay in those games. He's fun enough. I'm not sure it's a great comparison for an open world game. I'm not sure it's somewhere they could take a whole lot of influence from. But it's something we get to look at. The Lego Marvel games, which I haven't played all of them. I played like one of them, and I don't think I ever played as Venom, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But I mean, they're Lego games. They're fun enough. Disney Infinity, another game where I did play it a little bit. I don't think I ever played as Venom, though, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. The Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, though. I have not played the latest one. I played the one on the DS. I think it was on the DS. I don't remember. But they're pretty fun games. I don't think I have ever played as Venom in those. And then we're going to get to the 2 games, or 3 games, really, that I've spent the most time with. Spider-Man and Venom Maximum Carnage is one of my favorite beat-em-ups. It was on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. The only problem with them taking much influence from these games, though, is that Venom and Spider-Man played pretty similarly. They had similar movesets. They weren't that different from each other. Venom was like hit harder and Spider-Man was faster. But like I'm not sure they could take a whole lot of influence from this game as far as how they make Venom playable. There's also a sequel, Separation Anxiety. I've not played that one as much because it's not as good. I've played it a little bit. It's just not. I don't like it as much. And then the last one I want to talk about is the most important one, because it is the only open world Spider-Man game that I know of where Venom is playable. Ultimate Spider-Man, released on GameCube for sure, because that's where I played it, but I'm pretty sure it released on PS2 and Xbox as well. There may have been handheld versions. I'm not sure if the handheld versions were any good. Probably not. It was a free-roaming city environment, open world. Spider-Man was really fun to play as in that game. He had a very good moveset. He jumped around a lot, and he fought kind of like how you would expect Spider-Man to fight. It was a great game. When people talk about open world Spider-Man games from that generation, they usually talk about Spider-Man 2. But I think Ultimate Spider-Man and even Spider-Man 3 on the Wii are worth talking about. Venom was not playable in Spider-Man 3 though, so I don't want to talk about it much. But Ultimate Spider-Man was pretty fun. Venom, you swung around. He had some long range attacks. Where his arms would stretch out almost tentacle-like, not quite. And there was a boss fight against Wolverine, which I think they could do again if Venom is playable. I think that would make sense to do that again in Spider-Man 2, because like they have a Wolverine game coming out, and it could be a way of like introducing the character leading into the next game. The only thing, there are 2 things Venom is very memorable for in that game, though, that most people don't like. You had to he had a meter of some sort where you had to like eat people. Basically, it's like their life energy. It's been a while since I've played the game, so I don't remember exactly how it worked. But you had to eat people to fill up the meter, and if the meter went all the way down, you died. And so you were constantly having to worry about, like in combat, you have to worry about making sure that meter stayed up, while also making sure you weren't taking too much damage, which was a separate meter. If I remember right. It might have been the same meter. I need to go back and play it here at some point here soon. But point is, it was a little bit annoying during missions. And there was one particular mission that really annoyed people. That was the other thing I wanted to mention. Was a chase mission where you had to chase Electro, and you still had to keep eating people while you were trying to chase Electro. So this is probably not the best game to actually get some influence as far as Venom goes. I liked Ultimate Spider-Man a lot. It was because of the Spider-Man segments. Venom is not that great to play as in that game. But anyway, I want to move on to the next thing. So let's talk about that Nintendo Direct. So last week, there was a Nintendo Direct. There were a lot of rumors going into the Direct, some of which turned out to be true, some of which turned out to be false. There's one particular leaker, whose name I don't remember, but they're on Twitter, who was proved to be pretty accurate. And so there were some pretty high expectations as well, because after Pikmin 4, Nintendo just doesn't have anything announced this year. They didn't. But I want to talk about some of my favorite parts of the Nintendo Direct, starting with, in no particular order. I don't think this is even in the order that the stuff was announced in. My bad. So first thing I want to talk about, Pokemon DLC. Looks fun, didn't really show anything new though. I'm not sure why this was here, because it didn't even have a date. I'm excited for the DLC. I'm gonna buy it. I have no idea why it was in this Direct though, because it's still a little farther off. Then the second Detective Pikachu game was shown off. Well, I say then, it wasn't right after, but it was shown off. I couldn't ever really get into the first one, but I'm glad this is finally coming out after like 5 years. I think it was when it was announced. It was announced really early. I think they intended on getting it out earlier, and like the pandemic screwed things up. But it's still kind of weird that it took so long. They showed off the Super Mario RPG remake, which looks very good. I've never played the first one, but it's where a lot of Mario's core elements come from, as far as like the characterization and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it was the first game. I forget if it was Bowser or Peach that got their like permanent name in Mario RPG. Apparently it looks like a like direct remake though, just updated graphics. I will probably pick this up. I'm not generally too much of an RPG guy. They're just kind of slow for me, but I do want to try this one. Pikmin 4 is something I am very excited for. They didn't show a whole lot. They showed a new Pikmin, but in like nighttime stuff. But I gotta be honest, the nighttime stuff just doesn't look that interesting if that's all it is. I don't know. When they said you could play at night, I was expecting more. Hey, you can actually go out and do the same stuff at night that you do during the day. It's just like the different monsters or whatever on the planet are more dangerous and more aggressive or whatever. That's kind of what I'm expecting. It doesn't look like that's what's going to be the case. I'm still very excited for Pikmin 4 though. I just recently got into the Pikmin series. I didn't care much for 1. I loved 2 and 3. 4 looks right up my alley. They also, I didn't remember to include it here, but they also announced Pikmin 1 and 2 are coming to the Switch. So the Switch is like the definite place to play Pikmin games now. Play Pikmin. Just do it. Go play Pikmin. WarioWare Move It looks fun. This is more like what I want out of a WarioWare game. Depending on price, I might try that out. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks very good. I have one disappointment, and that's the release date. It releases the same day as the Sonic game that also showed up here, Sonic Superstars. Well, not the same day, same week. It releases the same day as Spider-Man 2, and the same week as Sonic Superstars. So that's going to be a busy week in October. For anyone who wants to play those games, I might wait on Sonic, but I definitely want to play Spider-Man 2 and Mario, and those games aren't games that will go down in price if I wait. I'll probably play Mario first because it will probably be shorter and I can just get straight to Spider-Man from there. I don't know. But Mario Wonder looks fantastic. It looks like all those mushrooms Mario has been using all those years has finally gotten to him. It looks kind of almost like Wonderland-esque, but also kind of like a drug trip that Mario is on. It's weird. I don't know. And that's really what it sums it up. It is a weird game. I'm all about it. It looks really fun. A Luigi's Mansion's Dark Moon port. I think, sure. I hope the first game is also playable here soon on Switch. They also announced a new Princess Peach game for 2024, but barely showed anything about it. I don't know. I might play it, but we need to see more about it first. There was a new game, Penny's Big Breakaway, a 3D platformer, a new 3D platformer, and it looks very good. It looks like it takes some elements from Mario Odyssey, and it's also made by the Sonic Mania team. So that caught my attention. The Batman Arkham trilogy also caught my attention. I kind of figured we'd finally get that this year because, like, I bought the PS4 version of those games just recently. So, yeah, I guess I'll buy it again. Because why not? I think the Switch will probably be the better place to play it. Because you can take it on the go and all that. And the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection was announced for Switch, Volume 1. I think those games look great. I have not played any of the Metal Gear Solid games. I want to try them. Actually, that's not true. I played Phantom Pain. Phantom Pain is fun. I like Phantom Pain. But I haven't played any of the others. I'm excited to pick up this collection and try them. I'm a little bit worried with both the Metal Gear collection and the Batman collection because they only so much comes on the cartridge, and they look kind of beefy in space. Hopefully they'll fit on the Switch. If not, I'll have to delete some older games. I have like a big 1 terabyte SD card, so it should be fine. Vampire Survivors is also coming to the Switch. This is a game that has interested me. It looks good. I just haven't gotten around to it. Maybe with the Switch I will. There was also a ton of other stuff announced, but most of it isn't stuff that I really care much about. I'll go through it quickly here. Pokemon DLC, Detective Pikachu Return, Super Mario RPG Remake, Pikmin 4, WarioWare Move It, Super Mario Wonder, Bros. Wonder, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon HD port remake. I can't tell if it's a port or a remake. A new Princess Peach game for 2024. Sonic Superstars, Palia, Persona 5 Tactica, Myth 4, Splatoon 3's Next Splatfest, which is weird, by the way, because it's based on ice cream flavors, and they went with strawberry, vanilla, and mint chip instead of chocolate. So that's kind of weird, but whatever. Batman Arkham Trilogy, Gloomhaven, Just Dance 2024, Silent Hope, Fae Farm, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Manic Mechanics, Mario Rapid Sparks of Hope, free demo and new DLC, Dragon Quest Monsters, The Dark Prince, HD versions Pikmin 1 and 2, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, Vampire Survivors, Headbangers Rhythm Royale, Penny's Big Breakaway, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC, Star Ocean and the Second Story R, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda and Ganon Amiibo. What is, to my knowledge, everything that showed up. I don't think I'm forgetting everything. It was a pretty good direct. A lot of stuff that I wanted. I'm definitely going to be playing the Switch a lot in the next 6 months and the coming year. But now I have something else I want to talk about. Specifically, I want to talk more about the Metal Gear Solid collection because there looks like there could be a second one. We'll get right into that here. So, as I mentioned in the last segment, Metal Gear Solid Collection Volume 1 is something that's been announced. We know everything that's going to be in it. It looks fun. I have not played most of the Metal Gear games. I played Phantom Pain because it was really cheap. Actually, I think I got it for free on PlayStation Plus, so I decided to try and give it a try. I really, really enjoyed that game. It was very fun. And so that's why I want to get into the rest of the series. Most of my friends are big Metal Gear fans. I kind of avoided it because some of the cutscenes are like really long. One of the games I think has like a 2-hour cutscene, and that just seems kind of dumb. But it is a series I want to get into. So Volume 1 caught my interest. However, there's something missing from it. Specifically, Metal Gear Solid 4. Solid 5 is also missing from it, but I don't think most people care as much because that's very playable on modern consoles. But Solid 4 is a big deal because it's just kind of stuck on PS3. And that system is not easy to port from. It's not easy to emulate. So everyone's wondering, hey, where is Metal Gear Solid 4? And we kind of figured it would become eventually because this collection was specifically called Volume 1. And so, yeah, it's been leaked, sort of. I'm getting this from an IGN article by Wesley and Poole. Twitter user Nintroid spotted that inspecting the Metal Gear Solid timeline page on the official Metal Gear Solid website reveals placeholder buttons for Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. While it doesn't mean anything for certain, there's some additional context for why it's suspicious. Specifically, the Metal Gear portal site was heavily updated, and the addition of the history section, it happened around the same time as the Nintendo Direct announcement. The timeline graphic is actually a years-old static image that Konami uses frequently but seldom changes. Here, instead of simply including the pre-existing image on the new page, they removed the game logos from the background and then programmatically replaced them with a visual identical buttons. Well, this alone doesn't suggest anything. It does suggest that new pages for these games are forthcoming. The timeline buttons do not link to the currently existing and still active official pages for the games shown, which are listed on the portal site under lineup. Instead, the link to several brand new, wholly separate game pages, which are also added, which advertise and feature both screenshots and footage from Metal Gear's Collection Volume. Only the canonical games missing from the Master Collection are ones with inactive buttons. All of the included games have active buttons. So, I hope this is true. I hope this is real, because this is a series that I do want to get into. It looks fun. A lot of people I know really enjoy this series. So I hope this is real. I plan on picking up Volume 1, and if Volume 2 is real, I will probably give it a try. But I do want to hear your thoughts on the Metal Gear stuff. I want to hear your thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. I want to hear your thoughts about Venom being playable in Spider-Man in the comments if you're listening on YouTube. If you're listening on another platform, hopefully there's comments. Maybe I'll see them. Who knows? But we're going to take a quick break before we get into the next segment right after this quick break. So Microsoft is raising prices. The Xbox Series X has mostly been the same price since it released. Now it's going up, which is odd because usually by this point it should be maybe going down at least a little bit. But I assume they saw prices during the pandemic and when there weren't many of them on the aftermarket, and we're like, hey, we want some of that too. This comes from The Verge. Xbox Series X pricing will remain the same in the US and match PS5 pricing in most other markets. Xbox Game Pass prices are going up in most markets. Microsoft is increasing its Xbox Series X prices in most countries, apart from the US, Japan, Chile, Brazil, and Colombia. Or Chile, that is. They're also increasing the price of Game Pass by like $1. It looks like, but it's only the Game Pass, the base Game Pass for Xbox, so not PC and not the Ultimate. Well, I guess the Ultimate would probably go up too. I don't see too much. It's not super specific. I know there's a few different ways of buying Game Pass. Yeah, this kind of sucks. If you haven't gotten an Xbox yet and you're in one of those countries, you should probably do it now, because I don't know exactly when they're changing it. And as for Game Pass, load up if you can. I'm not sure it lets you load that up, actually. I don't know. But prices are going up. This sucks. PS5, Sony, they already did it. Sucked then. It sucks now. Hopefully, prices go back down eventually. I know product was a little bit scarce for a while. And I think that's partially what is leading to this, probably. And here we are. But I do have other stuff I want to talk about, specifically a game announcement. So I talked about this a little bit when we talked about Summer Game Fest 2 weeks ago. But Star Trek Infinite had a full gameplay reveal trailer. It is coming out this year. It's a strategy game that lets you, quote unquote, build your own Star Trek story. There's several factions in the game: the Federation, the Klingon Empire, the Romulans, and the Cardassians. And you choose one of them, and whichever one you choose, you just lead to victory. It's a strategy game. There's still not a whole lot, but they're advertising it as a build your own story, build your own fleet type thing. I think it looks good. Gameplay looks pretty solid. It looks good graphically. Some neat pop-up menus. It looks like there's some story there. There's not much to say. It is just like a basic top-down strategy game, it looks like, although probably not completely top-down because it's in space. I think this game looks very good. I am pretty excited to play it. The companies making it, Nimble Giant and Paradox Interactive, have a good track record. Uh, yeah, I'm excited to play Star Trek Infinite. I'm a big Star Trek fan. The last Star Trek game I played was pretty good. Uh, Paradox Interactive is good at making games. There's also some screenshots. I think it's just stuff from the trailer. There's no set path or singular way to play. You can take the route of diplomacy, espionage, warfare, or a mix of all these various other approaches. So it's probably sort of like a civilization type game. Uh, I'm excited. I hope it comes out and I hope it's good. But I do have something else I want to talk about. Let's talk about some companies restructuring. It is apparently restructuring season. Restructuring is the big thing. Two different companies have announced reorganizing and restructuring here recently. One of them I think is probably a good thing. One of them is probably not so good. First one, Electronic Arts has announced it's restructuring its studios into two separate organizations, EA Entertainment and EA Sports. So games like FIFA and Madden would be in EA Sports, and EA Entertainment would be like everything else. The Sims, uh, uh, their usual video games, Plants vs. Zombies, uh, Titanfall, Fallen Order, anything like that would be EA Entertainment, probably. And they call it entertainment specifically because I imagine they're going to be doing other things with those properties, movies and TV licenses, stuff like that. They've tried to get into that before, and it didn't work out because they just couldn't get the right companies to work with them. So now they're just going to do it themselves. Uh, uh, and yeah, it's they announced a bunch who will be running each part of EA. EA. Vince. So Laura Mail is president of EA Entertainment. Vince Zammel will lead the EA studios responsible for Apex Legends, the Star Wars, and Battlefield games, which is a good choice because he's apparently been doing a good stuff here lately. Samantha Ryan will run the division's lifestyle franchises and blockbuster single-player games. Well, Jeff Cart will remain in charge of the mobile games. EA Sports will be continue to be headed up by Cam Weber. And EA CEO, he announced the plans here recently, Andrew Wilson. I'm not sure if these are actually two different companies now. It's a little bit confusing. It sounds like they're still the same company, just two different organizations. It's kind of weird, but it's probably a good thing. I don't think they're cutting any jobs because of this. I think they already did some job cutting, which was bad. But now they're doing this, and I think this is fine. This is fine. The one that's not so fine, Embracer Group. Things are going wrong at Embracer Group, which is unfortunate because they own a lot of good IPs right now. They're canceling games because they had that big deal crumble. So for the record, the stuff on EA came from Video Game Chronicles. Now I'm using an article from Polygon. Gaming mega publisher Embracer to close studios, cancel games after a $2 billion deal crumbles. They have close to 17,000 employees over more than 100 studios, many of which were acquired over the past few years. They own Tomb Raider. They own Lord of the Rings now. All of Lord of the Rings, except I think the book publishing rights. So even like TV stuff has to go through Embracer Group. Uh, so last Tuesday they announced the restructure. It's split into 3 phases. People are going to be losing jobs. It's cost saving, consolidation, reduce debt, that sort of thing. The first phase of cost saving will be immediate and noticeable. That means they're cutting staff. We don't know how many. They say they're underperforming, or said some of the studios are underperforming or not creating games, which is unfortunate. This is bad. Embracer Group owns Tomb Raider right now, which is one of my favorite game franchises. They own Time Splitters, which is one of my favorite franchises. They were doing a bunch of Star Wars stuff, which was really good, like remakes, remasters of old games, mostly ports. It was still good stuff. It was fun. I've been buying a lot of what they've been putting out here, and this just kind of sucks. Hopefully, it doesn't affect the games I want to come out. Hopefully, it doesn't affect things like the Time Splitters game. Hopefully, it doesn't affect Tomb Raider, anything like that. But it just kind of sucks. People are losing jobs, and that's always a bad thing. Pretty much always a bad thing. Yes. We'll see what happens. Embracer Group is a company that it doesn't seem like they ever really had a vision of what they were going to do. They were just going to keep buying studios, and make money off of them somehow. And it's fine. I think some of those studios really needed to be bought. The studios, they belonged to other companies that wasn't using them properly. And I was hoping Embracer Group might be able to use them better, but here we are. Hopefully things all work out in the end. But we're going to take another quick break. Then we'll be right back after this. So I finally got around to playing some more Guardians of the Galaxy. I've gotten about halfway through it, to be honest. But I feel like I've gotten through it enough to kind of give my opinions. And my opinions aren't great. There's definitely parts about the game I like. I like the story itself is good. The way the characters interact with each other, the gameplay elements of those interactions, the way you can get different characters to do different things, to interact with the world. I like that. I like the graphics. It is graphically a very pretty game. My big problem here is the main gameplay, the shooting, the combat. It doesn't feel great. Melee combat is honestly pretty horrible. But it's also clearly not the focus. It is more of a shooting game. Which is a little bit weird for a superhero game, but it makes sense with the character you're playing as. You're playing as Star-Lord. But the shooting doesn't feel good. It doesn't. It feels very loose. I don't like any of the weapons, really. It's just not fun to participate in combat. And that's a big part of the game, so when that's not fun, that's a problem. I also think they're trying a little too hard to make the characters more like their MCU counterparts. I enjoy the story itself, but the characterizations need a little bit of work. I would prefer if they were maybe a little bit more like the comics, but I think they were trying hard to make the characters look and sound like they're the MCU counterparts, and they're just not. This game does not take place in the MCU, so it's just kind of a weird choice. I get it. I think they're trying to draw a certain audience. It's weird. When this game first came out, people sung its praises, and I do kind of get why. There are some really good stuff. There is some really good stuff in the game. It's just that combat is so bad. It ruins the rest of the experience for me. I don't know. I'll probably finish it eventually, but for now, I'm good. This is not that good of a game, and clearly not for me. Is it better than Avengers? I think most people would like it more. I think there's definitely an audience that would like Avengers more. I would say they're probably tied in quality. The things that Avengers did wrong, Guardians of the Galaxy does right. Likewise, the thing Guardian of the Galaxy does wrong, Avengers typically got right. So that's a little bit weird considering both made by Square, but it is what it is. I don't care much for the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Let's move on to something else. So today I thought we'd talk about something a little bit silly, is how I would describe it. Although I think the person who said this was completely serious. Hideo Kojima breaking barriers again, wants gaming to be the next spacefaring industry. This comes from fandomwire.com. Hideo Kojima has made a name for himself as a breaker of barriers for coming up with fresh ideas that impact the video game industry. It should come as no surprise then to fans that a future project the Metal Gear Solid creator has in mind will prove that the sky is not the limit for his creative genius. According to a recent panel at the Tribeca Film Festival following a screening of his film Hideo Kojima Connecting Worlds, the gaming amateur started that he wanted to design a game that can be played in space. I want to go to outer space, right? Create a game that you can play in space, because right now all games you probably can't play in outer space. After this, he joked with the audience, pleading if someone could please send me up to space. It could be that Hideo Kojima is joking around or dreaming big about future projects. A space game might still be a possibility. What is up with this man? Why is he like this? I'm not sure what else there is to say about this. One, he made a movie about himself, which is kind of weird. I'm going to be honest, that's not something I don't think I would make a movie about myself. But two, he wants to go to outer space to make a game that is playable in outer space, because games can't be played. I think most games could probably be played in outer space. I can't say I've ever gone up there, taken an Xbox or a PlayStation, whatever, but I'm sure someone probably has. If nothing else, like a Game Boy or something, a Switch. Most games probably are playable in space. Kojima makes some really good games, but man, does he come up with some weird ideas sometimes. I don't know what else to say about this, to be honest. Like, Kojima, he wants to go to space to make a video game. And I would hope it would be an actual space game. That would be pretty cool. Actually, I like space games. Anyway, got one more thing to talk about before we end the show here today. So let's get to that. So a pretty long time ago at this point, it was announced that the Lara Croft collection would launch on Switch last year. I think it was announced in 2021, and it was supposed to come out in 2022, and got delayed at the very last minute to 2023, and here we are, which I thought was a little bit weird, because they are just ports of older games. Like, I guess it takes some time to do that sort of thing, but I wouldn't think it would take, like, 2 years like that. I don't know. I guess I'm not a game developer. I don't know. But, yeah, it's finally coming out. I'm excited. This is not the trilogy of games that came out on PS4 and Xbox One. These were games, I think they were originally mobile games. They may not have been originally mobile games. They were released on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360 as well. That might be the original place. And then reported to mobile later. I don't remember. It's 2 games. Specifically, it is... The names of the games are Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, and Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. They're coming out on June 29th, this week. Pretty excited. These are fast-paced isometric action games with some light puzzle-solving elements. They're not a whole lot like your traditional Tomb Raider games, which is why they're specifically called Lara Croft games and not Tomb Raider games. I hope this means we'll get more Tomb Raider down the line on Switch. I think the reboot trilogy could come eventually. If they can get Arkham Knight working, if they can get The Witcher 3, then I think they could probably get the Tomb Raider games on Switch. But even if they can't get the recent trilogy, they could port some of the old ones. I would love to see more Tomb Raider on Switch. It is, the games were originally developed by Crystal Dynamic. It started development while they were at Square. It's releasing with them being bought by Embracer Group, so I'm not sure exactly how that works. That's kind of an interesting situation. Feral Interactive is doing the porting, though, and I think they've done mostly good work. I would have to look up to see what else have they done. Interactive. Yeah, they mostly just do ports. They did Alien Isolation, which I think the Switch version is pretty decent. Grid Autosport. And mostly Mac games besides that. I think this could turn out fine. I'm pretty excited for it. I definitely want to play it. I will probably pick these up. I might wait for a sale, but I will probably play them eventually. So that's it. That's the show. Not much else to talk about. That's all I wanted to talk about this week. Hopefully I'll be back next week with plenty more to talk about. If you are listening on YouTube, once again, click that notification bar, subscribe, click the notification bar, like the video, and comment on anything we've talked about. I would love to hear from some people. Shows me that people are listening and people enjoy the show. I would love to hear your thoughts on anything discussed today. If you are listening on a different podcasting platform, though, if you're listening on, like, Amazon has a podcasting platform, Spotify, anything like that, if there's a subscribe or follow button, make sure you click that. Otherwise, you can subscribe to the RSS feed, of course. Otherwise, I'll be back, hopefully around this time next week. Even if you're not subscribed or whatever, tune in. I'll be talking about video games, as I do. Uh, you'll hear from me then. I'll talk to you then. Bye.